I'd get up and catch a sunrise this morning. I turned 62 today. The most consistent thing in my life, 62 years, has been the sun and the moon, the daylight and the nightlight. To catch a sunrise is pretty spectacular. No two sunrises are the same. Most people don't know that it's God's way of communicating to the world that He exists. Everybody who's ever walked the planet sees a sunrise and sees the moon. And those two things are there that you might know there's a creator God. He's put them there for us, for the daylight and for the nightlight. Genesis, it says, chapter 1, verse 14. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it was so. Then God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. So God has created daylight and nightlight. And in Psalm 19 it says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows His handiwork. Day unto day utters speech, and night unto night shows knowledge. There's no voice or language where their words are not heard." God is the great communicator. He communicates 24/7 to every human being that's walking the planet that He exists. His desire is that all men be saved. It really bothered me a number of years ago when I read in Romans, the first chapter, that mankind has no excuse to know God. For a few years I really wondered about that. And then I realized that He communicates 24/7 with the heavens, with creation. And the simplest part is the sunrise and the sunset, the moonrise and the moonset. Everybody who sees it has to logically think through this has been created. It's been created for times and seasons, and we as human beings all use the sun and the moon for our calendars, our days, our months, our weeks, our years, as it was meant to be. The interesting thing, though, is that while you can know there's a God, and everybody knows there's a God, you can't find God by just looking at the sun and the moon and His creation. You can only find God by believing in Jesus Christ, who is the Son of God, who came to earth and became a man, the God-man. He was a perfect man. And He suffered and He died And God, in his suffering and death, made a mockery of mankind's law, governmental law and religious laws from formal religions. The Jews who turned Christ over to the Romans. If Christ was truly guilty by Jewish law, he would have been stoned to death. But there was no crime committed by the Jewish law. They just hated him. They hated him because he was righteous. And the Romans' way of dealing with somebody, if they were convicted of a crime, was to scourge the person and then maybe crucify the person. And so they found no fault in Jesus, and they scourged him, hoping to appease the Jews. But the Jews of that time wanted no part of letting Jesus go. And so they cried to crucify him, and crucify him they did. So here we had an innocent man suffered death. A God-man suffered death. And he died on the cross. God laid all the sins of all mankind on his shoulders. And he became sin for us. He who knew no sin became sin for us. So the sin issue has been dealt with in God's eyes. We've been reconciled to God through Christ's death, and God has been propitiated in Christ's death. So your sin does not condemn you. The only thing that condemns you is your unbelief. You don't believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. You don't believe that he became a man. And you don't believe that he died for you. We have many systems of unbelief in our world today, but God keeps calling. His call is universal. And on a day-to-day basis, he calls every human being that you know there's a God. And you can find him when you seek for him with all your heart. Understand, knowing the story of Jesus is not believing the story of Jesus. You must believe to be saved. Knowing the story is not enough.